Welcome one and all to episode 38 of Teatime. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hey, how's it going?
And today we're talking about the No Regrets manga. Right off the bat, I'll give a spoiler warning since we might be mentioning things from throughout the main series of the Attack on Titan manga. So, yeah, you have been warned. Obviously, the main discussion is going to be on the manga that is called No Regrets. But we'll mention things from the main series. And we'll also mention the anime adaptation, I think, a decent amount. And James recently informed me that the manga is based on a visual novel.
Yeah, like a video game visual novel.
Which I had no... I knew it was based off of something, but I had just naturally assumed it was based off of a light novel.
Same. I didn't realize until I looked it up today that it was a video game.
Very interesting.
What?
Yeah, I wonder how many people actually know that, because to me that was completely brand new information.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, about, I guess, slightly a little bit about our history with this spin-off. I read the manga and watched the anime around the same time, I think back in 2017 or 2018.
Oh.
So I have read and seen it before, but it's been a while. Like, I only read it and saw it that one time back then. So it's been fun to reread the manga and rewatch the anime now more recently again. But what about you?
Yeah, I read the manga all the way back last week, I think.
Wow, it's a long time ago.
I know, a long time ago. But the anime is a little different. The anime I watched today for the first time. So a lot of new experiences for me. But yeah, glad to have this opportunity. And I think you were mentioning earlier that some people kind of take this story as a canon kind of prequel to Levi and Irvin's relationship.
Yeah, I'm quite sure it's like widely considered to be canon, which I think makes sense, honestly, especially compared to the other spin-off mangas that exist, like Lost Girls and Before the Fall. Those two I don't think are as canonically credible.
Gotcha.
But yeah, this one I think is so solid in terms of canonicity, or whatever the word is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so without further ado, let's get into, well, talking about the points that we want to talk about from No Regrets. So, right off the bat, I took note that the story starts, and I think takes place, all in all, in the year 844, which is 1 year before the fall of Shiganshina, so a year before the main series of Attack on Titan begins. So that would be the time when Eren is 9 years old. But that doesn't really matter. But it's interesting because, or at least my previous self had misremembered this as taking place several years before, like a couple years longer before that. But yeah, so it's really quite close in time to the main series.
Yeah,
I find it rather interesting that Izayama established the underground area in the main series, but didn't really explore it all that much. All we really got sort of from about the underground in the main series of Attack on Titan was sort of Levi's and Kenny's backstories, which were really quite brief. So I thought it was cool to see that kind of explored more in No Regrets. It's also actually the characters in the Before the Fall spin-off also actually go down into the underground at some part there. So it's kind of funny how it's kind of explored more in the spin-offs than it is in the main series. This really quite fascinating place that Izayama established, but never really explored much. But anyway, yeah, it was great to see it in the No Regrets manga here, and in the anime.
Absolutely agree. And I'd always thought it was an aspect of Isayama's story that, I mean, never needed to be dived into deeply, but it just felt like it was an idea that he put out there but never explored.
Yeah.
But the No Regrets manga and the anime takes a step further in going into what life is like in the underground, and what Levi's life was like, really. And I enjoy it for that aspect of, something we didn't get from the main series.
Absolutely. Yeah, and especially the anime, because they added I think more than half of that first episode was stuff that wasn't in the manga.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just it's funny how much quote unquote filler there was, but it's good stuff. I really enjoyed those parts. So yeah, as you said, getting to see kind of what life is like down there, but also giving some more focus to Isabel and Ferlin was nice.
Yeah. just talk about the underground real quick. How was the underground built exactly?
Oh yeah.
Because yes, we have like the catacombs where in the main story that's where Rice and his family were, and their whole
Yeah.
ritual.
Right.
And it was clearly built by Titans.
Mm.
Was that the same case here? But there's no crystallization or anything like that. But that's the only way it would be built.
That's a
And yet their
really good
history
question.
tells differently. So maybe there was some memory shenanigans that happened. I don't know.
Right.
But what would have been, it's also like, what would have been the purpose? Like, why would they do that? Because clearly it wasn't to escape the Titans. They didn't care, the Rice family, I don't think.
No, like
But
I think right, exactly. They wouldn't. I mean I just assumed it was like they made the underground, or they dug out that area to because they needed more space because of the population size was growing within the walls.
mm,
Or at least I think that's the idea. But still, yeah, it is quite a remarkable area. Like in terms of like
it's pretty
how
deep.
how it's yeah how big it is and how deep it is. Yeah, and also something I thought about, especially when I watched the anime, but it's also noticeable a bit in the manga, just how light they're able to make that place. Because I mean,
Yeah.
getting that thing light should be really difficult because it's like there's no sunlight reaches it whatsoever, yet it's basically daylight, like in terms of how bright it is.
Yeah, go figure. They got some nice torches down there.
Yeah, yeah. But I guess just in general about this spin-off thing, I liked seeing the initial meeting between Levi and Erwin before they really knew each other, because in the main series they are obviously, like, from the moment that we get to meet them in the main series of the manga, they're really quite close, or very close. Like Levi, like it becomes quite clear that Levi basically trusts Erwin blindly during when they're being pursued by the female Titan in the forest, when he has the no regrets speech,
Mm.
when he's speaking to Eren there, like, you shouldn't regret your actions because you can't know until you've taken action which was the right move, and that's why you shouldn't have any regrets. Like, and it's funny how obviously this side story or spin-off really kind of gives that speech more substance, or kind of you understand Levi's point of view better, I think, thanks
Absolutely.
to this,
Hmm.
which is something I really appreciate this spin-off for.
Yeah. It gives a nice kind of background to why he or how he experienced that for himself. I mean, obviously, we get that a bit in the main series when his entire squadron's killed by the female Titan. But this just kind of reinforces that his life's just been like this from the very beginning. He's a survivor.
Mm.
He's incredibly skilled, but all the people he cares about around him just continue to die. And so, in that sense, surviving is good, but it comes with some pains, kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yeah, he really is a survivor, and man, being the last of his generation in the Survey Corps to survive by the end of the story. Also, and like, or I guess to really compare it, like this is as the very beginning of Levi's story, where he loses really his only two friends in the world, pretty much, and then he just kept losing people, his squads, his like everyone else in the Survey Corps. Everyone just
Hmm.
dropped one after the other until he was the only one left. Shit, man, that is rough.
It is, but he gets a good ending though.
He
His
does.
his final salute.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that is. Yeah. That's always gonna make me a
That's
little bit
always
emotional.
good.
Yeah.
But going back to Levi and Irvin's kind of relationship here,
Mm.
it's funny to think that once they were, well, in the story we know they're incredibly loyal to each other.
Yeah.
um but the truth is, or like at least before that, Levi was dead set on killing the man.
Yeah.
So it's kind of provides an interesting dynamic between their relationship.
Very. Yeah, and it's also fun how, or interesting, I guess. Well, I do think it is a little bit funny how Levi, well, because of his initial plan was to kill Erwin. It's funny how in the end he was the one who basically let Erwin die.
Oh yeah, good point.
Funny, but also, I mean, sad. But I wonder if that was. I kind of don't think it was necessarily intentional, but it's still neat. I think I like it.
Yeah, it depends exactly when Midnight Sun and the visual novel was released. Like
True,
uh,
yeah, and I think the visual novel came out before. I'm
oh, okay. So maybe
relatively
he
sure.
had no idea what Isayama had planned
Yeah,
in that
I
sense.
assume so. Yeah.
But still, it for not knowing it, it seems rather poetic in a way.
Mm,
Um, that he ended up letting him die. But
yeah.
yeah, I think in general, just talking about how the anime and the manga handled both these characters, the anime did a better job of giving Levi's point of view, whereas the manga gave more of Levi and Irvin's story.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd sort of say that the manga is it's well obviously it is mostly Levi's story, but the manga specifically I'd say is nearly as much of a story for about Erwin as it is about Levi.
Yeah.
Like maybe 40-60 or something like for a split between the two of them. But yeah, the anime does not really go in depth as much, or yeah, it doesn't focus nearly as much on Erwin.
It's like 80-20.
Yeah, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Maybe
definitely.
not that drastic.
I mean, still,
But
like, it is definitely a clear difference, though I think, and I guess that's one of the things, or probably the only thing, that I dislike or the only aspect, I guess, of these two works or these adaptations where I dislike the anime more than the manga. I think.
so I think there's a trade-off to be made here. With
Mm,
the anime, you do get less of Irvin and it's less of his story, but in the anime, you do get more of Levi's characteristic, and you see him care more for Lana and Isabel, and just
yeah.
you just I don't know, you see more of him. You get more of the Levi that we know, and I'm sure the voice helps out a lot because he's a great voice actor.
Oh yeah.
In the manga, it just feels like he's not quite the same Levi. Yes, Levi's supposed to be a cold, softy in the middle, but he in this one in the manga, it doesn't feel like he's saying nearly enough, and it's just like he's too silent and maybe a little too focused on killing Irvin and not thinking too much about his comrades, which is something that I feel like Levi would be, which he does in the anime, and something I think is consistent with the main story is that he does care about the people around him, and for some reason I just didn't get that as strongly in the manga.
That's fair. Yeah. I guess one point that might, I guess, explain this, although I will make it clear before I say this that I do agree with you, but I just thought of one point that could explain that is that maybe it was this event that made Levi, I guess, become extra cautious or extra caring about um, protecting his close friends. Like after having experienced this loss here, he started to put in, I guess, maybe a little extra effort to try to be someone to who
Hmm,
protects his friends, perhaps.
that's fair.
Um,
But I do think the anime does a better job of giving Levi more of his regular characteristic and just
mm,
is a little more consistent with the Levi I felt like was in the main series versus what the manga told. Not to say it was bad at all. It's just maybe it's because there is more of a focus on Levi.
mm.
Maybe that's why I feel that way.
Right. No, but I do see that as well. But yeah, Isabel and Ferlin introduced here as Levi's friends who obviously going into this, and I mean, I assume most people who read this or watch the anime have read or watched at least up to some point somewhere in the main series, and so most people will know Isabel and Ferlin don't appear in the main series, and I think it's pretty safe, or I think most people pretty safely assume that they're gonna die because where else would what else would happen in this story? And I especially I think when they ride out beyond the walls on the expedition, I think it's pretty easy to predict that they're gonna get killed by titans.
Mm,
However, I don't think that I guess predictability about it. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I was still moved or well touched or whatever by their deaths. I thought it was very well done, especially the anime adaptation. I thought
I
when
agree.
Levi finds Isabel's severed head, like that moment is horrific and just so very impactful. I think like just the lack of sound kind of for a moment as the camera just lingers on that head for a little too long, and yeah, it's really disturbing and very well done, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if that comes from the visual novel because obviously it's in the manga,
Mm.
but well, let me preface this a bit. In the manga, you see what actually happens to them before they die. I mean, them fighting against the Titans, Isabel and Furlan,
Yeah.
and that's cool. But I really like the suddenness of seeing her head, and obviously Levi is racing to get there, hoping that none of them are in danger, that everything's okay, and then you just see her dead, or her dismembered head, and
Mm.
um, yeah, you just get this feeling in your stomach, right? And I
Definitely.
and I feel like that's something that a visual novel would do. You know, you're reading the words, you're in Levi's shoes, hoping, praying that everything's okay, and then you just see a picture of a severed head. You know,
Yeah. Oof.
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that could have been what they went for in that
Totally.
sense.
I could imagine. I mean, well, when you talked about it like that, I was sort of getting like Steins Gate vibes a little bit, which also originated as a visual novel.
Very
Um,
true.
but yeah, yeah.
But yes, I felt like their deaths were a little more impactful in the anime. Just it was just incredibly well done, incredibly disturbing. Um,
Mm,
I mean those headshots were very very graphic,
very.
but the manga did a good job too.
Yeah, it
Um,
did. Mm.
yeah. But talking about the actual characters themselves, Isabel, I think, is very cute, energetic. I like her character. A bit generic in her design. I mean, you know, just kind of the tomboy girl. But I don't know. I really liked her. I think that
Mm.
she's a character that people can find really likable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think she's really likable, and I think she's done so well for what the story is and for the character that she is supposed to be. She is perfect in the way she's written and the way she's portrayed in general. I love the way she's portrayed in her entire role in this spin-off.
She is perfect. That's what I
She...
say about Mikasa. But no. Um,
does Mikasa have competition?
No. Uh, no, I really like Isabel. Um, very cute.
Mm,
I what another thing I like about her is she's had in the manga she has this character growth kind of thing going on where
yeah.
she sees the Survey Corps members and realizes or understands what they're fighting for, and she sympathizes with it, almost to the point where maybe she wants to help them achieve that, and she starts saluting like them, kind
Mm.
of bonding with them, and I like that uh, change in her character a bit.
Yeah, it was cool, and it made me wonder, like, if she hadn't died there, like, could she have also joined the Survey Corps with Levi?
Yeah, and that makes it
Like,
more sad.
yeah, right, exactly. So sad.
Furlan, on the other hand, if you don't mind me moving on to him,
Oh yeah, by all means.
I don't mind him. His character design is very generic.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing outstanding about him. But his character in the manga, I didn't really like. Like there's something about it that just felt like he was maybe indifferent is the wrong word, but it just didn't feel sincere that he really cared about anybody.
Right.
And yeah, he was with Levi and Isabel, and I'm sure he did, but some of his actions, like when he saw that Levi and Isabel were actually kind of bonding with the Survey Corps members, he was just kind of disgusted by it. He's like, "Oh, guys, gotta focus on the plan. Like, don't get
Yeah.
caught up in all this." You know, and I just felt
Right.
like I don't know, he was caught up in his own desires a little too much. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know.
Right. No, I didn't feel that as strongly, I think, but I think I can relate to some of the feelings that you had about him. Like hearing your thoughts on that, I think I can understand that.
Mm. But in the anime, I feel like they changed his character quite a bit. Like you can see more of the kind of the sympathetic side and how he cared about not just Levi and Isabel, but the people that were working with them or the subordinates or whatever you want to call them. You know, giving him extra money, like to help that guy with his leg,
Oh
and
yeah.
and he just really it felt like he wasn't just this guy who wanted to get out of the slums. He yes, he wanted that, but he also wanted to be with his friends and help other people. So I don't know. I just
Mm.
not to say that everyone should be like that kind of character, but it just felt something that was a little more likable, a little more relatable than Furlan kind of being a you know like a better word, a douche.
Yeah, I wonder because I mean I think that's a good point, and I agree with it. I wonder though if maybe in the manga they were trying to go for something like that, like but they just kind of I guess they weren't able to create the right types of scenes that would convey who he was as well, perhaps. Which because obviously like the early scene that you mentioned where he gives some extra money to that one guy and like just seeing those sides of him in the anime, like maybe they were trying to go for that in the manga, they just didn't. They couldn't, or they didn't really succeed as well. Um, but yeah, he is definitely he feels more fleshed out. In the anime. That said, though, both he and Isabel are quite basic characters. They aren't deep necessarily either one of them, um, but still, I think they're both great, especially in the anime where they actually get more focus.
Absolutely. I think that yeah, they're both kind of generic or simplified in a way.
Right.
Uh, but I stand by liking Isabel more. And I feel like the anime for Lan it just gives a little more to his character.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, they are these side characters who were meant to die, meant to make us cry or at least be uncomfortable.
Yeah, 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 and they did the job.
Yeah, yeah, good on them.
Yeah. So other characters that appeared here, well, a familiar face, one that we love, Hanji appeared.
Yeah,
Not much, but still a little bit, and it was
yeah,
nice to see. I guess even though it was again very brief, to see the beginnings of Hanji's and Levi's, well, their friendship.
for sure. I really like what happened in the manga. I would have loved more, and I was hoping for more.
Mm,
But
yeah,
it's a 2 volume story that the focus is on two other people really.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it just wasn't meant to be. I would love to have a side story where we see more of Levi and Hanji getting to know each other and
yeah.
just how their friendship came to be. But
Mm,
and maybe you give Irvin more time with that, like all three of those guys, how they
exactly.
came to be close.
Because
But
honestly, like all pairs in that trio are amazing pairs.
yeah,
Like I would love to see more. Yeah, more of all of them. But Levi and Hanji especially. I mean, okay, so while I love Levi's and Aaron's relationship and their dynamic and all of that, I love that as probably we all do. But I think I love Levi's and Hanji's dynamic and relationship even more.
that is a hot take, my friend,
Maybe.
and maybe one that I agree with. So I guess we both have the hot take, but I feel like a lot of people really love the Levi and Irvin dynamic.
Yeah.
And yes, there's the Hanji Levi shippers, and they're very very real. Uh, but there's Irvin and Levi shippers, and they're very passionate as well. So I don't know. It's an interesting debate, like which is the
Yeah.
better, which is better. And I'm not talking about like romantic relationship, but which is the better friendship. And maybe this is not something you should be saying, which is better or not. But it all comes down to opinion anyway. But I like Hanji and Levi's dynamic as well, and would
Yeah.
love to see more of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially these early phases of it. I think would be
Right.
interesting to see
Yes.
how their
Yes.
friendship came to be, and like
Yeah.
all of that
Yeah.
for sure. Mm.
But the anime version of Hanji,
Yeah.
in No Regrets,
Mm.
I'm very disappointed with.
Yeah.
so
Me too.
so again, there's only a limited amount of time to give these characters, and they were trying to give more focus on Levi's backstory, and it's his story. But Hanji's introduction into this story, and really her, well, like, she was in one scene earlier, but when she finally gets like a speaking role, she's freaking out about like Levi's skills, and I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
I understand that Hanji is quirky, but it feels like Hanji would freak out about Titans like that, not some guy using ODM gear. You know what I
Ah.
mean?
Oh yeah. 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 I actually yeah. I I agree.
Yeah. So, and it was so brief, and that was like her only moment, and they just made her really silly. I mean, yes, I like silly Hanji, but there's more to her character than just that.
Yeah. I guess there wasn't room for that in this story though.
You're right. There wasn't room for that, but in the manga there was. Like, got a little bit
True.
of
Yeah.
her,
Right. Yeah. That
reaching out to him.
entire like scene at the fort or wherever, like that whole thing was cut out in the anime.
Yeah. So I would have rather that than whatever thing she was doing in the anime.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's that's besides the point.
Oh
That's a
well.
a little nitpick.
No. I do agree with that nitpick though. But yeah. One thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about Erwin earlier is how the story basically establishes his long distance scouting formation technique or idea,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is cool to see. I think like how it's used in practice for the first time kind of doesn't work out because of the weather and all, but still to see it used for the first time and see how happy Darius Zackley is about it, like how he praises Erwin for that and all. I think that's nice to see. Uh, Basically, this ingenious idea that I think played a big part in making him into the next Service Corps commander a few years after this.
Oh, absolutely. It's an ingenious plan. But that's one of my nitpicks of the manga is that formation. It gets a test run and it fails
Right.
epically, right?
it,
As far as we understand, one bad weather day and everything falls apart, and they
True.
approve it. It's like, wow, that less people died. What? Are you kidding me? Wow, like it's supposed like these guys were like super strict on the Survey Corps. They were going to put down the hammer on them, and so
Uh-huh.
they needed a success story. And this is what they come back with. Like, how does this get approved? I mean, it should, because it's brilliant. When rain is not an issue, and thank goodness rain never happened in the main story when they used this,
Yeah.
because smoke doesn't work.
That's interesting that the Service Corps still got to continue after that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but I mean, it's just a small nitpick. I don't know how the visual novel did it, but
Right. Yeah, I actually hadn't thought of it that way. But you are
yeah.
completely right. They did basically, like, that expedition was a failure, or it seemed like it,
I mean,
at
maybe they
least.
went on to do something else, I guess, and maybe they
Maybe.
somehow made it a success. But
Yeah,
they still
possibly.
lost a lot of people. Like
Yeah.
all those people that Levi saw dead when he turned it back, right? Like there was like a
Yeah.
whole squadron or two that had
Mm,
been eaten. So yeah, I don't like that part.
right.
Or don't like is not maybe the wrong thing. I found it kind of silly, but I agree
Right.
with you that it was cool to see the trial run for that. I was
Yeah.
kind of hoping to see how Irving came up with it, like how
Oh,
he came
yeah.
he came to the process of establishing this formation, and I kind of thought that's where the story was going, or before ever reading it, I thought that's what it would be told, and Levi would have a part in it somehow. But no, he just had it beforehand, which is fine. He, I'm sure he's been
Yeah.
thinking about it for a while.
Right. He must have. Uh, but yeah, I would have also liked to see, I guess, that process of coming up with it
Yeah,
and kind of like, I guess, yeah,
maybe
piecing
it would have been.
some ideas together and however he
Hmm.
came up with it. That would have been
Yeah,
fun to follow along with.
yeah.
Oh well.
Can I give another gripe for the story, if you don't mind?
Do it to it.
So Levi's reasoning for leaving Isabel and Fairlane, going to kill Irvin in the manga, I don't like. I feel like it's kind of silly. Like he's like worried that Titans are gonna come eat Irvin or something like that. You're not worried about Titans coming to eat your friends? Oh, they'll be safe. I trust them more. But Irvin is the freaking Survey Corps commander. Like,
Or
of
not
course he'd
yet.
be safe. Not yet. Excuse me. But
Uh,
he's a high up there.
but
Like he's
yeah.
just as skilled as you. I mean, Levi's more skilled. Don't get me wrong. But Irvin like goes toe to toe at the very beginning with Levi.
Yeah.
So why are you worried? He has more experience. He should be fine. And you could argue that is the mistake of a rookie. That's fair. But I feel
uh,
the anime gives a much better reason. Hey, this is the perfect time. There's this mist going on and no one can really see. We can sneak up on him. Oh, but we can't go all at once. That'd be too much. Or, that it would be harder to sneak up on him like that. That made sense. I was like, okay,
true.
I understand the choice. And it was a tough choice to make, but I understand it better than the manga. That's my gripe.
Yeah. I hadn't really thought of it much, but yeah, I agree with you actually. It does make more sense the way it is in the anime.
So anyway, that's my one thing. But either way, he never gets to kill. He
Right.
no, but no regrets. No regrets.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, no regrets.
can't regret it.
But I guess since we're on that scene, something I wanted to, I guess, point out, bring to anyone's attention who doesn't know, but I'm sure a lot of people probably do know, but still, I'm sure there's some who don't. In volume 19, let's see, which chapter is this? Chapter 76. It's during the Return to Giganshina arc. Irvin has he's thinking about his past and everything that took him to this spot and everything, and there are two panels that depict the scene in the rain or after the rain or wherever, when Levi, takes the sword to Irvin, and Irvin grabs hold of the sword with his hand. There's two panels from that moment actually in the main series, it's pretty obvious that it is referencing the No Regrets series.
Oh wow!
So I think that's pretty cool that that's actually in the main manga. It's not the same panels like the ones in the actual main series here are drawn by Isayama, and they're different angles and different poses slightly, but it's still definitely that moment that that Irvin is recalling back in that part of the main series. So I think that's pretty cool, and it also kind of solidifies the No Regrets spin-off as a canon story, I think.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there you go.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't actually have anything else really on the manga, and most of my anime specific things I've already touched on as we've gone through. But do you have anything that's only like manga related?
There was a nice butt shot for the Titan.
Oh, yes,
extra thick. I like it.
Damn.
That's really all I have.
Gotcha. Then yeah, well, the main thing about the anime, which I've already kind of sprinkled, I think, throughout, really is how I liked that the added, underground stuff and the focus on Levi and his friends, but I'm sad about, I guess, the diminished focus on Erwin. That's really like my main, what was my main thing on the anime. But the last thing that I haven't mentioned at all is, well, just something I wanted to shine a little bit of light on is this song that appears, I think, 3 or 4 times throughout the 2 episodes. That I sort of feel like is sort of, I guess it became, to me at least, like a main theme of that spin-off anime. It's like acoustic guitar and German vocals. At least I think that's German.
I couldn't tell what language it was, but I thought it was very good.
but I think that's such a beautiful song, and just wanted to lift that one up a little bit.
Yeah. Sawano really pumping out those classics, man, or those
Yeah.
great songs. So I guess my thoughts, real quick about the anime is,
Mm?
while I totally agree with you that Irvin's whole role in it was diminished. I still think it's solid,
Yeah.
and I think that you get the trade off for better characterization of Levi and his crew. And you just, I don't know, it just gives you a better look at things, and the manga and anime have their strengths, but I personally think I like the anime more. When I was
Mm.
reading through the manga, I was like, yeah, this is good. I mean, it has some issues, but yeah, I like it. Like, I can definitely consider this um, uh, canon or whatever.
Mm.
But when I was reading not to say the quality of the story makes it canon or not, but I guess that's basically what I said.
Yeah.
But the anime, I really enjoyed. I was like, wow, they really went above and beyond on this. I felt like
Mm.
um, adding in their own things, giving a little more filler to the story.
Right.
And
Actually, I wonder if some of those things that felt like filler, since obviously you read the manga first and the manga came out first, um, I wonder if maybe those things that felt like filler were from the visual novel, but that weren't included in the manga, perhaps.
yeah, who knows? Yeah, which is the real filler.
Right. I have no clue. But anyway. Mm.
But yeah, so I really, really, really enjoyed the anime, and it was amazing to see once again after our whole watch through of all Attack on Titan anime, to see Wit's season 1 style back in action.
Yeah, yeah, that was good.
Super thick lines, amazing animation, incredible lighting. Yeah, it was amazing.
It really was. Yeah, I think I'm torn if I'm gonna choose like which version of the manga and anime I like more, because I think the anime I think might be technically better, like just as a story by itself,
Uh-huh.
because it is more kind of focused on fewer characters in a way. Like it focuses on
Mm.
Levi and his group, and
Mm.
not as much on the rest. Obviously,
Mhm.
there is still Erwin content and stuff, but obviously, as we've said, that was, yeah, a lot of it was taken out. So in that sense, I appreciate the anime more. However, being such a big Erwin fan,
True.
I also want to say I like the manga more because that shows more of Erwin. So I'm torn on it. So I'll just leave it as an even split for me.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think that might be all for this discussion, perhaps.
Yeah, I think I've said all I need to. I have no regrets.
Awesome, as you should. And next month, we are doing a similar discussion as this, but for the Lost Girls manga. So obviously, again, like the manga in focus, that one's also 2 volumes, another spin-off, and that one also has I think two or maybe 3 episode anime adaptation that we may also touch on. But yeah, the manga is going to be the main focus, as usual here on this podcast. So there's that, and shout out to our Discord server. Our Umami Manga Discord server specifically. Actually, I want to. Well,
We've
okay.
abandoned Titan Teatime server. No one ever talks on there. I'm
It's
just
kind
kidding.
of dead. Let's face it.
Yeah.
I mean, it sort of died off when the manga ended.
It's true.
Which is fair. I can understand that. So I mean, we do have the Attack on Titan specific Discord server, which is our Titan Teatime Discord server, but I think I wanted to specifically talk about the Umami Manga Discord server, which is linked in our video descriptions on YouTube and also should be linked in the episode descriptions on the podcast platforms. It's a lovely little place. It's not that big, but it's growing, and it's got several amazing people that we talk to pretty much on a daily basis in there, and it's just a very nice little community that I'm very proud of personally.
Absolutely. It's great. Come join. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is. And yes, with that all said, if you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by either rating our show on the podcast platforms or subscribing to our channel, Umami Manga, on YouTube. If you like this episode, please share it with anyone you think might enjoy it too. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Lost Girls. Bye-bye.
See you later. Yeah, I have a severe case of deja vu for some reason.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Um,